Hello, this is Sirisha Kisra. My class ID is 14. My lab partner is Kavin. For the lab 1, we are dividing the lab assignment the first, third, and the sixth part I'm doing, and the fourth, fifth, and the second part would be done by Kavin. So coming to the first, given a list of tuples, we need to create a dictionary with keys as names like John and values as the subjects and marks in the sorted order. Like for example, if it is like John, the Daniel should come first because it is in the ABCD order. D would be coming first. So let me walk you through the code. In the I have imported default dict. It is nothing but a normal dictionary which is initialized with a function. We can pass list collections into it, and I have a function, a tuple convert, where I'm taking a list which is provided in the lab assignment, and I'm initializing the dict using this default dict, and I'm passing this some list into this default dict. Here what I'm passing is in this list that I've already initialized. So for k and v in list, which is key and value in list, d is nothing but a default dict which is taking list. So d of k dot append v. So for example, if we have two John, it will append them like John physics, science, like that. To get this in a sorted order, we are using a function sorted in which it is taking the items, comma key. Here operator dot item getter is nothing but it iterates through the values in the list, and finally we are printing the sorted list. So to call this function, we are initializing a main function in which we are calling this function. So let me run this code. So as you see, we are getting Daniel, and for which we are getting the value science and history, and for John we have physics, science, so we are getting two different values for John, and Mark we have maths and social, so we are getting them like that. If you see here for John we have physics and science, Daniel we have science and history, where we are getting it as a key and value. So going to the next part, write a Python program to create any one of the following management systems. So I have chosen to create a airline booking reservation system. So for which I've taken two classes. Initially airline booking class, in which I'll define my flight class, ticket class, passenger class, employee class. As you can see, I have a flight class in which I have taken flight ID, flight origin, flight destination, number of stops, flight type, PID is here, passenger ID, and passenger type. So I've taken a constructor, and I'm initializing the variables, instantiating the variables, and the next function I've taken is get flight details, in which I'll parse the flight ID, so it will give me the flight number, its origin, destination, and flight type. So the next is the person. So I'm taking the flight class, which means like person contains the person ID and the name, and it can inherit the flight class to get the flight details. So let me take the passenger ID, passenger type, passenger gender, name, phone number. It's like the person number, and flight ID, flight origin, destination, number of types, and I have initialized each of them, and I've called the method person and the super method of flight to get the details of flight eh, along with the details of the passenger. And the next is employee. For the employee, I'm inheriting few details from the person, like person ID, type, phone number, along with the SSN of SSN would be the employee class variable, and the remaining would be inheriting from the person class. And in which we have a method function like get travel details of employee, where I'll provide the employee So whenever I call this get travel details employee, it gives me the details like whatever the employee details that I've called, it will give me those details. And the passenger also inheriting few uh, variables from the person class like name, number, and ID. Apart from that, passenger will be having his own ID, his own type. Uh, Actually, passenger number is different from the person class. The remaining all will be in the person class too. And if the passenger, if we have same passenger for different flights, so then we iterate them through these using keys, dictionary keys and values, and we map them to them. Like for example, if we in the same flight we have so many passengers, so we'll map some different passengers to the same flight. And to get the passenger details, we have this class, this method in the passenger class. And at last we have a ticket class in which it will inherit a few variables from the passenger class, and apart from that it will have extra boarding group number, row and seat number. And when we call this get board pass with a name provided, then it will give the details of the passenger flight and from what uh, place he's traveling to what place. So good. When we go to the inheritance class, I'm inheriting passenger, employee, ticket, flight class from the airline booking that I've already created, and just instantiating those methods. For example, for the flight class, I'm given all the flight details, and I'm calling a function get flight details of this particular flight, then it will display me. And the passengers, I'm giving few details of the passengers, and the employee, I'm giving few details of the employee. When I get the travel details of the passenger of P1, then it will give me these details, and for the employee E1, it will give me those details. And P1 get traveling passengers, where it gives me the traveling details of that particular passenger on that flight. And for this ticket, it gives me uh, there is a ticket class, then I've given the ticket details of this particular passenger. When I call the get boarding pass of this particular passenger, it gives me the details of the flight number, destination, origin. So let me run this inheritance class and see the output. So as you can see, uh, first to get the flight details, it is giving me all this and its flight type. And the travel details of C2 would be flight ID, flight type, origin, and destination. As I've called the employee, get employee details, then it will give me hello pilot and the particular employee details that I've called and his flight ID and the passengers on each flight. I've called the get passengers list, then it is giving me for this flight there are two passengers, and for this flight there is only one passenger. So it works like this. And going to the k-means, it is I've taken a data a set from the given data sets, which is class college.csv, in which we have so many fields where private college is, whether the college is private or not. So I'm taking the number of values in the private columns, which would be obviously yes or no, and I'm checking for the null count in each field for each feature, and it is printing the nulls. And using the elbow method, I'm checking the number of clusters and number of features. And I've given a number of clusters too and checked the score from the previous score, uh, which is actually increased a better score from 55 to 59. But when I change the number of clusters to 3, it gives me even the clustering of the data set is a bit less, and even the score is also. So by giving the number of clusters to 2, I got a better score, and I have also plot the clustering. So let me run this clusters. K-means when I run this code, first initially it gives me the fields. As you see elbow graph, the number of clusters that I've taken is 6. So 1 to 6 it gives me. So and this plot shows us as I've taken the number of clusters to 3, it shows, as you can see, the score is 53. After taking number of clusters 3, initially it would be 55. So let me take the number of clusters to 2 after applying PCA on the dataset and rerun this. So the elbow graph is the same, but as you see the number of clusters, you can see you can differentiate between the data by taking the number of clusters 2 more, and even the score is 59, which is greater than 55 comparatively.
This is about lab 1 and Kavin. The second question is about finding the longest substring. So in this question, what we have done is we have got the input string from the user and created an empty dictionary, and for each of the character so for each of the character in the range of the input string, and for again we iterated for each of the character in the input string. So what we have done is we have included all the character into an empty dictionary file. If already there is a key in that dictionary, then we would just increase the length. So by this we could get the highest value of the values in this dictionary using the max of tick dot values of. So the answer would be the dictionary with the highest value. So the same example, PW, WKE, W. So you'd say WKE and KEW has the longest substrings, have value 3. So the fourth question is about creating multiple regression on data of our choice and calculate the evaluate the model using RMSE and R square. So in question 4 we have used the college data set, where in college data set it has features like private apps, unnamed, enrolled, PhD, graduation rate. So our target is the graduation rate. So this is regarding the universities and their graduation rate. So if you look on the dataset shape, it has about 777 data points with 19 features, and out of 19 features, some are integers, some are objects. So we have neglected the objects with the data types with objects. We have made the unnamed, private, all these data, remove the data sets, and now we got about 16. Earlier we had about 19, so we removed 3 of the data points, and now we see everything is an integer or an float, and this is check for null values. We don't have any null values in the data columns. And now we have changed the 2 of the features, the expand and the PhD, to the in terms of mean and standard deviation, that is the each of the value minus mean by the standard deviation. So now you could see the expand is from how it's different from the mean value, and the same thing in PhD. Now if you visualize the histogram of a PhD, we could see most of them are at the 0, and it varies from 1.8 to minus 3.9 from the mean value. And if you plot the correlation using the Seaborn SNS library, the Seaborn library, it actually takes some time. So the graph looks something like this. This is the correlation between the features, and if you see the top 8 of the correlations and the least 8 correlated features, so we could see the grad dot rate. It has the highest correlation with itself, grad dot rate at 1 point as 1, and others have something like 49%, 57% correlated, and some are negatively correlated. So we have removed all the negative correlated or the least 8 correlated features, and now we did some more visualization on the graph. So now we could see the bar graph between the, for example, outstate versus the top 10% versus the grad rate, percent dot alumni versus grad rate, etc. So now here we could clearly see that all of them have some the values are greater than 50%. The correlation is greater than 50%. That's why we have chosen only these features. And now we created the target data frame. So we have the data frame with all of these features, but we need to isolate this grad dot rate to do the target and do the prediction on that. So we have split the train and test using the train test split method from the pandas library, and made a linear regression on top of it, and we could see the RSC R square value of 34% and RMSE error of 5% on the college data set. Now coming to question number 5. Question number 5 is about to pick any data set and explore the data analysis on the data set. That includes the null values, removing the features not correlated, encoding the categorical features, and apply 3 classification algorithm. So first import the libraries. We import the libraries, and we have taken the telecom customer churn data. So if you see the data, we could see the customer ID, gender, senior citizen, etc., and the target as churn. Now if we do the data set shape, it has 7043 data points with 21 features, and most of the data types are object. The object means that it is not an integer or a float, it's of categorical variable like male or female, or no phone service, or no, or DSL or fiber optic, etc. So we have taken all of these data types only having the data type as object, and found is there any null values. No, it is not having any null value. Now we could see we use the label encoder and made, if suppose gender has only the categorical variable male and female, we would rename this male to 0 and female to 1. Similar way, okay, this is showing some error. I think I will click the 2 times. So dependence, phone service, multi-lines, internet service, online security, online backup, all of these features to the labels. Now we could see the same 743 data points with 21 features. Now we drop the unnecessary features, and now if we see the shape, same 743 was 19, because before it was 21. We have removed payment method and customer ID, which is not a categorical variable. Now if we find the correlation between each of these features with the target and plot them, we could see how both are related when churn is equal to 0 and when churn is equal to 1. Now do some more visualization. We drop all the unnecessary features which is not correlated, and do train test split with 33%. That is 33% of the data set is going to be our test size, and remaining is going to be our train. Now apply knn on the data set. We had 79% on training set and 67% on test set. So let's consider the test set alone now and train a support vector machine. We got about accuracy of 78%. So we could see support vector machine gave us a better results. So we could say that KNN with using 2 neighbors we do not get a proper accuracy. Let's try with 5. We got the improvement in the accuracy, that is to 75%. Now trying with 9. We got still more better accuracy. So the number of clusters will increase our test, but at certain number of times it would be the reverse one. Now if you see the trading a Gaussian NB, we got 70%. So the highest accuracy is obtained by using the SVM. That's it about the question number 5. Thank you.